Welcome to Tuesday. It's the 8th day of August, 2023. Your Day Weather Podcast brought to you by Cowboy State Daily. Well, we've got a severe weather threat today. This is an area that's not terribly large, but there's some of you out there that are going to need to keep an eye on things come this afternoon and evening, as we kind of have a classic setup for severe weather on parts of the high plains this afternoon and evening. We'll need to be ready for that. Cooler than average temperatures continue again. After today, though, temperatures are going to be able to rebound a little bit. We'll show you where this severe weather setup is today, but parts of those states right there are going to be under the gun. Now, the second half of the week, the air is a little drier. That's going to make it a little bit warmer as this cool northwest flow changes up a little bit. This will be giving us a drier trend east of the divide. Now, I want to use the word drier, not completely dry, as there's still going to be residual moisture for some hit and miss thunderstorms. But the coverage, the amount of thunderstorm activity after today, east of the divide will drop a bit for a while, but there will be a little bit of moisture coming into the western slope of Colorado, parts of the desert southwest, a little patch of moisture that's going to lead to a little bit of shower and thunderstorm activity in those areas there. Another round of heavy thunderstorms moving through southeastern Wyoming, western Nebraska, and eastern Colorado yesterday, leading to some late afternoon and nice evening rainbows once again. But today, we've got a setup that does give us pause for concern in the risk of severe weather. This patch of cloudiness right here is associated with an upper level low pressure trough that is coming in. It got its start up in the Gulf of Alaska and British Columbia. And as we have been mentioning several times over the last few days, this is a late August pattern where you start to see these systems get a little bit more active along the northern jet stream. This system is headed southeast, and you can see there is a boundary between much drier air along and south of I-70, much more moist air north of Interstate 70. Dry air is part of the equation when you get into severe thunderstorms, as that air can get drawn into the thunderstorm complexes, and there's a lot of physics going on there that drier air can actually supercharge things, and especially in terms of hail formation and other things. So we have a system coming in from the northwest, but more importantly, when you put those winds aloft from the northwest and you counteract them with a wind at the ground, close to the ground from the southeast, you've got yourself a situation that we need to watch carefully. So this really illustrates the contrast between the dry air to the south, the moist air coming in from the northwest, and winds aloft are coming in from this direction right here. This is going to continue to overspread most of the nation with cooler than average temperatures again today. Just a large part of North America is going to be cool. The heat bottled up down here in Texas and New Mexico. Here we have this trough that we just showed you on satellite imagery right there, the high suppressed to the south. And this is where we have the risk for severe weather. A very enhanced risk that I think is going to this area will probably grow with the update that will come out later today to maybe an area that's a little bit larger, the same with the yellow area. So eastern Wyoming, western Nebraska, northeast Colorado, northwest Kansas. There's going to be a severe weather threat here today, and this means everything. This means tornadoes, this means hail, this means very strong winds, this means possibly some heavy rain. The setup is such that what we have is this upper level trough, as you saw in the satellite imagery, heading southeast. So the general wind flow aloft, generally speaking, is coming in from the west-northwest. The big blue arrow means higher wind speeds and the direction of where the winds are coming from. But on the ground, close to the ground and a little bit above it, we have an east-southeasterly wind flow. They're opposing each other. When they oppose each other, this gives us what we call a shear environment, where you change directions and speed as you go up in the atmosphere. So what this does is this gives you basically a flow pattern that causes a rotation like this on the ground. The same thing happens if you take a pencil between your two hands and you keep one hand stationary. The hand on top of the pencil, you move up or down, that pencil will spin. That rotation, so think of this as that pencil right here, rotating along that axis between your hands. And what will happen is, as an updraft gets into the thunderstorm development, that circular motion, that spinning pencil gets pulled vertically. So you get this horizontal structure on the ground or close to the ground or just above it. The thunderstorm updraft forms. That's why you get, when you have a northwest to southwest and southeast pattern from the ground to the top, that shearing effect, this in this region in particular is a real strong signal for tornado formation. And along with that, the hail and the heavy rain and everything else. So this shear environment right here leads to this. You get pulling that up into an updraft, and you have that situation there. This is the tornado risk area today. Large and very prominent hail risk in those areas again this afternoon and evening. Now keep in mind, this area could be a little bit further west, a little bit further northwest. This is generally speaking where the bullseye is going to be, but this area could shift around a little bit during the course of the day. Thunderstorms and showers will develop. This is through tomorrow. Most of this precipitation falls up into this area today. We already have showers and thunderstorms over western areas of Wyoming underneath that upper level low, but you can see where the more enhanced areas of thunderstorms will develop today. Now by Friday, we still have this west to northwest, basically westerly flow across the northern parts of the U.S., but the high here begins to build a little bit more. This is what brings a little more subtropical moisture to Arizona and New Mexico for some thunderstorms up into this area here. But that moisture kind of gets cut off because of that westerly flow before it can get too far north. That will lead to a drying trend. By Sunday into Monday, the high pressure grows, so this will allow summer heat to come back up further north. So we're going to see return to summer temperatures by the end of this week and this weekend, and a little bit of moisture for some afternoon and evening thunderstorm coverage. Pretty typical mid-August conditions, and this is by Saturday. By Saturday, your temperature anomaly reverses from being colder than average to a little bit warmer than average. Some heat building into these areas here again, although we're getting to the middle of the month, so it's hard for these large-scale, very warm periods to not go much longer than 2 or 3 days. And this is a good example. This is 10 days from now. So this is going into August 17th, August 18th. So basically a week from this Thursday and Friday. We go right back to a northwest flow again, and the high is more bottled up from the eastern Pacific to the desert southwest. So this is that flow. The map I showed you yesterday of August, more often than not being cooler, this is why, because we'll go back to a northwest flow pattern by the middle to the end of next week. Have yourself a great Tuesday. Watch out for that severe weather today if you're in that area.